All right, welcome to the game show. So this is my first attempt at doing some regular streaming. I'm going to do it every Wednesday from about 8 till 8:30 at this stage. And we're just going to be doing some live streams of classic games, new games, all sorts of things. And I'll just be offering my first impressions of things. I'll be offering maybe a bit of history of various games, things that have meant a lot to me. I'll talk about what I like about them, how I got exposed to them, and there's also going to be a chat window going as well. So if you've got any questions about the history of the game and any comments of your own, feel free to chuck them in there. It's going to be a pretty informal deal, and I'll be recording these, and I'll probably throw them up on YouTube afterwards if you miss them. So kicking off this week, we're going to be doing a classic, probably one of the most famous PC games of all time, and that is ID Software's 1993 mega hit, Doom. So if you are a gamer, you've almost certainly played it. If you're not a gamer, you've probably even heard of it. But it was the game that is largely known for being the game that sort of solidified the concept of the first-person shooter on the PC. And so here we go. This copy of Doom I picked up from Good Old Games, GOG.com. It's running in DOSBox. And this version is the Ultimate Doom. So it was a later release of Doom. I think it came out about late 94 or something like that. And it had, it came with additional levels and that sort of thing, I believe. Feel free to pull me up on that if you know better. So I'll just unpause DOSBox and here we go. Hey. Oh, I'll never forget that intro, eh? Let's go with ultra violence. Might be a nightmare, but this stream won't last very long. Alright, so here we go. There's that oh so famous music of the first level. It was composed by Bobby Prince. Bobby Prince is one of the most well-known names in game music production. He'd done everything from Duke Nukem 3D later years through to more recent games. Ooh, health not looking good there. And there's the first death of the stream. Let's start that again. So Doom was not the first-person shooter, as you're probably aware. That would, I guess, technically go to Wolfenstein 3D, although there were games that came out earlier than Wolf 3D that could be considered for first-person shooters. But Wolf 3D was the one that sort of solidified the concept of the shooter. So fast run and gun gameplay and maze-like levels. And Wolf 3D was a much simpler game than Doom. And it came out only 18 months earlier. So it was Doom that came out 18 months earlier that just took the genre in a whole new direction. For example, prior to Doom, if you look at this room, for example, you've got the sort of lighting effect on the tiles there. So I just had to sort out a zombie. So you've got the lighting effects on the walls here, things like that. You've got also, if you look outside, there's like a layered level, so you can go down half a level. There's like steps over here. And prior to Doom, that wasn't something that was technologically achievable. So John Carmack was the lead programmer on Wolfenstein and on Doom, and he's regarded as, I guess, a bit of a genius when it comes to game production. And when you consider that when Doom came out, most other games were still trying to emulate Wolfenstein 3D, and then Doom came out and it's just taken the genre in a whole new level, and to this day it's sort of considered, the peak of the genre, I guess. I might grab that health first. See ya. There we go. Yeah. So the music for Doom, Bobby Prince was, he created 2 separate soundtracks. So one of them was all sort of metal style music inspired by bands like Alice in Chains and Pantera. And then he did also an ambient soundtrack as well. He composed all the music before the game actually came out. And he composed it basically based on descriptions of things like monsters, weapons, and that sort of thing. And when the game came out, lead designer John Romero basically picked the tracks from both soundtracks that he liked and found levels that they matched. So my first experience of Doom was, like many people, it was the shareware version, which was sort of a free demo that included the first episode, Knee Deep in the Dead. It was quite a crazy practice that they used to do back then. A lot of first-person shooters would be broken up into episodes, which would contain, a whole bunch of levels. So with Doom, there was about 8 levels in the first episode, and every episode after that. So for free, you were getting a quarter of the game. And this is something that I don't think anyone does anymore. Even demos are dying out. It's incredibly generous. And you can see why it didn't last, because I was perfectly happy to play the shareware version for years. So I guess the shareware version was really widely played. It's estimated that in the first 2 years of Doom's release, the shareware was installed on somewhere between 15 and 20 million computers. So at the time when Windows 95 launched, Doom was actually installed on more computers than Windows was. And here you can see in this area of the second level, you can see some of the pretty revolutionary lighting effects of the Doom engine at the time. Keep in mind, it might look a bit dated now, but this was, back in 1993, this was terrifying. There's a chainsaw somewhere in there. I can never remember where it is. So, why was Doom as big as it was? Why was it so successful? I mean, it was just an absolutely massive game. I mean, for years after Doom was released, people didn't even call the term first-person shooter didn't exist. For years after Doom was released, the genre term was simply a Doom clone. The entire genre was named after one game. I think there's three main reasons for the success of Doom. So the first one would probably be just the genre-defining design. So ID Software came in all guns blazing with Wolfenstein 3D and created this whole run-and-gun shooter idea. And then with Doom, they just took it to the next level. They added hugely complex levels with a multitude of really great weapons. I mean, I maintain to this day that the original Doom shotgun is the most satisfying shotgun in any shooter ever. I mean, it's just got such a satisfying, nice little animation there. It's beautiful. So the design was a key factor, of course, in why Doom was so successful. The second aspect would probably be the technology aspect. Doom was technically an absolute marvel. No one had achieved what the team at ID Software had done in Doom. And it established a long tradition of first-person shooters being sort of at the forefront of video game technology. And so the tech was amazing, and so everyone was really interested in it from that angle. And then finally, the final thing that I believe Doom is so successful is controversy. From start to finish, this game is violent. There's weapons, there's blood and guts, and explosions. There's demons and all sorts of stuff. Ooh, there we go. There's one. A shadow demon. So this game came out right at sort of the beginning of the big debates about violence in video games. And as I think it was Oscar Wilde said, any publicity is good publicity. So Doom was the game that everyone was sort of the name that they were evoking in all the discussion about video game violence, and you can see why. And all that chat in the media, it only served to raise the public profile. So you had this perfect storm of great design, great technical engine, behind the game and heaps of publicity from, parts of the media that might not have previously given any publicity to a computer game. This wasn't friendly Mario. This was, a murderous rampage through hell sort of thing. Most infamously was the mention of Doom as one of the influences in the Columbine shootings. And as it was later discovered, the shooters, who I won't mention their names, they were big fans of Doom. And this was seen by some as proof that, look what these games are doing, look what they lead to. People were seeing Doom as the cause rather than a symptom. And, studies since then, plenty of studies since then have shown that games actually have a sort of a net positive effect on development of mind. Take that with a grain of salt, of course. You wouldn't let, just any kid play a game like this, but it's something to consider. There was the old myth with Doom that the shooters had created their own custom levels. So modding was actually really big with Doom. The file format was the .wad file for all the game's data, which WAD stands for Where's All My Data. And it was basically designed so that Doom was easy to create mods for. And so the mod scene was huge, and there was an urban legend getting around that the shooters created a level of the school, and that got quite a lot of traction. And subsequent investigations found that it actually was not true at all, but it fit the narrative of Doom being the demon, ironically, that caused, all this chaos and havoc and sadness. So when Doom was released in 1993, ID Software already had a lot of, press, a lot of reputation amongst the gaming community, and so anticipation for this game was pretty high. It was so high, in fact, that when ID Software went to upload the shareware version onto the file transfer servers at the University of Wisconsin, which is how they were going to distribute the game, the anticipation was so high that the guys from ID Software couldn't actually log on to upload the game. And so the administrators of the network had to kick all the users off the network so that ID Software could log on and upload the game. The subsequent multiplayer matches running on the university servers, there was a bit of a network code bug that basically caused every network that was running a Doom multiplayer game to crash. So the Doom developers had to patch that pretty quickly, which, using the web to distribute live patches and something, again, that was a pretty new concept. Doom was so incredibly popular in the 90s that Bill Gates actually considered buying ID Software. Which I think would have been pretty funny if, instead of Doom, it could have been, Microsoft Doom 2. Maybe would have come packaged with Windows, something bizarre like that. One of the so Doom's been ported to close to 100 different operating systems and platforms over the years. And leading the team that was conducting the port of Doom to Windows 95 was a name that you may be familiar with, Gabe Newell. So Gabe Newell, founder of Valve and creator of the Steam gaming platform that's so ubiquitous today, he was actually leading the team that ported Doom to Windows. Good old Chango. And there we go, finally. So Doom was ported to heaps of different systems, and most notably recently, someone even managed to get Doom running on a pregnancy test. They initially just showed the game running on the screen, but run on a different computer. But that inspired someone to actually see whether they could run it on the pregnancy test's hardware. And yes, they were successful. So Doom has had it's probably where it's had a long-lasting legacy. It's had a pretty amazing sequel, Doom 2, which is probably the height of the series, and then in 2003, I think, was Doom 3. And Doom 3 basically took the game in a whole new direction. Ooh, that hurt. Doom 3 took the Doom series into the horror genre, and it's a terrifying game, and I've never been able to get very far into it because I'm not a big horror gamer. But what's there is good. Oh, I'm gonna die. Yeah, there we go again. Let's check out one of the later episodes. There it is. So that episode there, Thy Flesh Consumed, that is unique to the Ultimate Doom release. So the original release only had the 3 episodes, Knee Deep in the Dead, Shores of Hell, and Inferno. Let's go Hurt Me Plenty this time. So this part of the game, you are no longer on Mars, you're actually in Hell. So you can see why this game was probably rubbing a few groups the wrong way when it came to controversy. Oh dear, I've only got a pistol. I'm actually playing this with a mouse and keyboard, but at the time when Doom came out, it was pretty uncommon. The whole WASD mouse was not really something that we saw until Quake was released in the late 90s, or actually 96. After Doom 3, Doom sort of went quiet for a number of years. It was ported to various platforms over the years as well. Most recently, we've had the Bethesda reboot. So Bethesda bought ID Software, and under Bethesda they released the 2016 version of Doom, which took Doom back to its roots. It's a super fast-paced, violent, action-packed game like the original Doom, unlike a horror game, Doom 3. And the most recent release, Doom Eternal, I have not played it yet, but it is supposedly quite good as well. ID Software's MO has always been to release the source code for all their games. So the source code for Doom was released in '97. They've released source code for Quake, Quake 2, and it's unfortunately something that they probably won't see anymore now that the Doom IP is owned by Bethesda, who was owned by ZeniMax Media, who is now, as of the last week, owned by Microsoft. It's highly unlikely you'll see the source code released for the new Doom games, which is really sad, because source code is really important in video game preservation. Anyway, if you want to get into Doom today, there's a whole bunch of ways you can do it. I would recommend buying the game from GOG, Good Old Games, or GOG.com. They don't have any DRM on any of the games, so you can install it and run it any way you wish. You don't have to use their launcher. You can if you want. It's a pretty good launcher. I recommend it. And you can play the game in its purest form, or you can use a source port. A really good one is GZ Doom, and that adds things like mouse and keyboard support, mouse looking, jumping if you want, 3D acceleration, and then there's some really great mods for the original Doom. One of the most famous is Brutal Doom, and Brutal Doom was actually the inspiration for the 2016 version of Doom under Bethesda. If you want to play it in its purest form, it's pretty easy to get going. But if you need help with setting up DOSBox, feel free to hit me up anytime. Anyway, I'll be finishing up now, and thanks for watching. So next week I'll be doing a different game. Feel free to leave any comments or get in touch with me if you want to see me play something in particular. I'll also be uploading this video probably to YouTube. I'll see, and hopefully things will go a bit smoother as I start to work out, how I want to run this thing. I'll also probably find a way to monitor the chat a bit better. I think I saw a few comments that I might have missed. So sorry if there are any questions that I missed. I'll look into them and I'll endeavour to answer you in a comment or a response. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another classic game.